Attraction isn't a loud announcement or a formal introduction. It doesn't walk into the room and tap you on the shoulder with a compliment. In reality, attraction is a quiet, almost invisible shift in the atmosphere that most men completely miss because they're looking for the wrong things. You might be walking around every day thinking you're just an average guy, totally unaware that the women around you are actively recalibrating their entire behavior just because you're in their presence. If you're waiting for a woman to walk up to you, look you in the eye, and tell you that you're a fine man, you're going to be waiting forever. That's not how the game is played. Real attraction is found in the margins. It's tucked away in the subtle, subconscious ways the environment reacts to your energy. It's about the tension that wasn't there before you arrived and the way the social air suddenly feels different when you start talking. You have to understand that most women are social experts. They communicate through nuance and subtext. While you're looking for a billboard, she's sending you 1,000 tiny flickers of interest. The truth is, a woman's reaction to a man she finds attractive is almost never obvious flirting. Instead, it's a series of micro adjustments. She isn't just being nice or being friendly. She is responding to a perceived increase in the value of the room. When you understand that attraction is a reaction to your presence rather than a conversation you have to start, everything changes. You stop wondering if you're good enough and start paying attention to how the world shifts when you show up. Here are the undeniable signs that you are operating at a much higher level of attractiveness than you realize. Sign 1. Breaking the baseline shift. To catch the signs of attraction, you first have to understand a woman's neutral mode. This is her baseline. The way she behaves when she is around men she feels absolutely indifferent about. In this state, her body language is loose but not engaged. Her tone of voice is steady. Her attention drifts in and out. And there is zero emotional investment in the interaction. To her, a man in neutral mode is just another part of the background scenery, like a chair or a lamp. There is no pressure, no excitement, and definitely no effort. But the very second an attractive man, a man like you, enters her immediate space, that baseline is shattered. Her internal standard suddenly rises because your presence has raised the stakes. She is no longer just existing in the room. She is now presenting herself within it. This is where the micro adjustments come into play. And if you aren't looking for them, you'll miss them every single time. Watch her hands and her posture. A woman who is attracted to you will instinctively try to beautify herself in real time. She'll fix a stray hair, smoothen her shirt, or straighten her back to look taller and more composed. She might even start checking her reflection in any surface she can find: a phone screen, a window, or a mirror without even realizing she's doing it. This isn't a conscious performance meant to grab your attention. It's a biological instinctive reaction to your value. Her brain has flagged you as a high value target, and her body is responding by trying to match that energy. She wants to look her best because in that moment, your opinion of her actually matters. But here is the part that confuses most men. The reaction isn't always bubbly or flirty. In fact, the shift usually goes in one of two opposite directions. Some women will become much more animated. They'll laugh a little louder at your jokes, talk a little faster, and lean into your space with an intensity they don't show anyone else. They're trying to bridge the gap and connect with your energy. However, other women will do the exact opposite. They become unusually reserved, quieter, or even a bit awkward. This isn't a lack of interest. It's actually a sign of attraction-induced pressure. She's so aware of you that she's overthinking her own responses, trying not to say the wrong thing or overexpose herself. Both are powerful reactions. The key isn't how she's acting. It's the contrast between how she treats the world and how she treats you. If her behavior shifts specifically when you walk in, you've broken her baseline. That contrast is your ultimate green light. Sign 2, the power of unearned respect. Most men are under the impression that respect is a mountain you have to climb, something you grind for over months of hard work, displays of intelligence, or proving your worth. While it's true that long-term, deep-seated respect is built over time, there is a much faster version called initial respect, and it is almost entirely based on perception. When you are an attractive man with a strong presence, you don't walk into a room at zero. You walk in with a massive head start. People don't meet you neutrally. They meet you with a set of preloaded assumptions. Before you've even opened your mouth, the world has already decided that you are likely confident, capable, and a man who holds high standards for himself and others. This is perceived competence in action, and it's one of the most powerful social advantages you can have. You'll see this play out in the smallest, most natural ways. Maybe walk into a crowded social setting and people instinctively adjust their positioning to make space for you. Or when you start to speak, the background noise of the conversation dips just a fraction of a decibel because people are subconsciously waiting to hear what you have to say. They are treating you with a level of difference that you haven't earned through a resume or a list of achievements yet. They're giving it to you because of how you carry yourself. This initial respect is a gift, but it's also a test. The biggest mistake men make when they feel this unearned respect is that they panic. They feel like they have to justify why people are looking at them or listening to them. They start over-explaining their jokes, bragging about their accomplishments, or performing to keep the attention. The second you start trying too hard to prove you deserve that respect, you actually lose it. By performing, you're signaling that you aren't used to being treated this way, which immediately lowers your perceived value. If you feel the room deferring to you, the most attractive thing you can do is simply lean into it. Accept the space. Accept the silence. You don't need to fill every gap with words to prove you're smart or high value. Real authority doesn't need to explain itself. When you realize that your presence alone is enough to command a room, you stop chasing validation and start operating from a place of grounded power. Silence in these moments carries far more weight than any explanation ever could. Sign 3. She leaves the door unlocked. One of the most misunderstood dynamics in dating is how high value women show interest. If you're waiting for a woman to chase you down, ask for your number, and plan the first 3 dates, you're fundamentally misunderstanding how attraction works at a high level. High value women, the ones who respect themselves and know their worth, rarely pursue in the traditional aggressive sense. Instead, they invite. They don't knock the door down. They simply leave it unlocked and wait to see if you have the awareness and the leadership to walk through it. This is a subtle game of signals. And if you aren't paying attention, you'll miss opportunities that were practically handed to you on a silver platter. This invitation shows up as a series of openings designed to give you the lead. It's the conversation that should have naturally ended 5 minutes ago, yet she's still standing there asking follow-up questions or finding small reasons to stay in your orbit. It's the soft lead dropped casually into a chat, like mentioning a new restaurant she's been wanting to try, or saying, "We should definitely check that place out sometime." She isn't going to send you a calendar invite with a confirmed time and location. That would be doing the leading for you. She is giving you a thread, a tiny piece of momentum to see if you are the kind of man who can take that thread and pull it forward into a concrete plan. The danger zone here is hesitation. When a woman leaves the door unlocked and you just stand there staring at it, second-guessing whether she's just being friendly, the window starts to close. From her perspective, she has put herself out there by giving you a clear opening. If you don't act on it, she doesn't think, "Oh, he's just shy." Instead, she assumes one of 2 things. Either you aren't interested in her, or you lack the masculine confidence to take charge of the situation. Both conclusions kill attraction instantly. Attraction thrives on forward movement and direction. When she gives you that soft lead, she's testing your leadership. The goal isn't to wait for 100% certainty or a neon sign. The goal is to recognize that she's shifted the environment in your favor and then move the interaction to the next level. Leadership is the ultimate aphrodisiac, and it starts with recognizing when the door has been left open for you. Sign 4, the intimidation paradox. It sounds completely backward, but one of the clearest signs that you are a high-value man is getting a reaction that feels cold, distant, or even slightly stiff. Most men assume that if a woman is attracted to them, she'll be all smiles, bubbly, and easy to talk to. But the reality is that a powerful, attractive presence creates an immediate sense of social pressure. When a woman perceives you as a man who has too many options, someone who is confident, well put together, and clearly in demand, her survival instinct kicks in. She realizes that she might lose leverage in the interaction, or worse, that she might get her heart broken by a guy who has his pick of the litter. To prevent herself from feeling vulnerable, she puts up a wall. This is the intimidation paradox. She is so attracted to you that she becomes afraid of how much power you have over the vibe. So, she retreats into a protective shell. This defensive wall often looks like reduced eye contact, shorter responses, or a tone that feels almost professional or guarded. For the average guy, this is a nightmare scenario because he misinterprets this shield as a total lack of interest. He thinks she's being cold, so she must hate me. And his instinct is to do one of two things. Either he tucks his tail and pulls back entirely, or he starts chasing her to win her over. Both moves are fatal errors. If you pull back, you confirm that you don't have the confidence to handle a little bit of friction. If you start chasing and over-explaining yourself, you prove that you are reactive and easily manipulated by her mood. The key to navigating this is understanding the difference between indifference and intimidation. If a woman is indifferent, she is disengaged, she's looking at her phone, her body is turned away, and she truly doesn't care if you stay or go. But if she's intimidated, she is controlled. She is acutely aware of every move you make. She's just being very careful about how much of herself she reveals. There is a thick tension in these moments, and your only job is to stay grounded in it. You don't need to crack a desperate joke to lighten the mood, and you certainly don't need to ask her what's wrong. You just stay consistent, calm, and present. Think of it as a recalibration period. She is watching to see if you are stable. If you are the kind of man who gets rattled by a little bit of coldness, or if you are a rock who remains unchanged regardless of her temporary guard, when she sees that her wall doesn't shake your confidence, she eventually feels safe enough to lower it. The tension breaks, she opens up, and the attraction becomes 10 times stronger because you proved you have the emotional strength to handle the pressure of her beauty. Sign 5, the male hierarchy scan. If you want an honest, unfiltered assessment of your value, stop looking at the women and start looking at the other men in the room. Humans are social animals, and men in particular are hardwired to instinctively scan for hierarchy. The moment a high value, attractive man enters a space, every other man in that environment subconsciously re-ranks themselves. It's not necessarily a conscious or a malicious thing. It's a biological reaction to a perceived threat or a new standard of competition. When you walk into a social setting and notice that other men suddenly become more alert, their posture tightens, or their tone of voice shifts to be a bit deeper or louder, you are witnessing the male hierarchy scan in real time. They aren't being jerks for no reason. They are responding to the fact that your presence has shifted the social equilibrium. Watch for the subtle one-upmanship. You'll see men who were previously relaxed suddenly become much more performative. They might interrupt you, try to dominate the conversation with a louder story, or subtly challenge a point you made just to see if you'll fold. They are testing the boundaries of your frame to see if your attractiveness is backed up by actual substance. But here is the secret. Women are absolute experts at reading these social dynamics. While you might think the loud guy is winning, the women in the room are observing who is reacting and who is being reacted to. They see which man is forcing his dominance and which man naturally commands the space without even trying. They notice who gets followed and who gets ignored. When other men react to you with competition or subtle defensiveness, it serves as a massive social proof of your value. It tells every woman watching that you are a man worth competing with. However, the way you handle this attack is what determines whether your value stays high or drops to zero. If you get drawn into an ego battle, if you start arguing, getting loud, or trying to prove you're the alpha, you lose instantly because you've become reactive. You've let another man dictate your emotions. The most attractive move is to stay composed and almost indifferent to their attempts to ruffle you. When you remain calm, witty, and grounded while other men are being performative and loud, your value in a woman's eyes doubles instantly. You aren't just another guy in the room. You are the anchor that everyone else is revolving around. The truth that most men never realize is that attraction isn't something you have to go out and create from scratch. It's something you have to stop blocking. You are likely already walking through the world with a trail of signals following you. But because you've been trained to look for a loud, obvious yes, you're completely blind to the subtle shifts in the room. You're missing the micro adjustments, the unearned respect, the unlocked doors, and the way other men instinctively tighten up when you walk in. These aren't accidents. They are the language of high-value social dynamics. When you stop being the guy who is constantly trying to be attractive and start being the guy who is simply aware of his own impact, the entire dating game flips in your favor. You stop seeking validation and start observing the reactions you already command. The real question isn't whether or not these signs are happening. It's whether you have the balls to trust your perception and lead the interaction forward. Most men are paralyzed by the fear of being wrong. So, they wait for a green light that feels like a neon billboard. But by the time that billboard shows up, the mystery is gone. The tension has evaporated, and the high value woman has already moved on to a man who didn't need a map to find the destination. You don't need a flawless pickup line or a perfect script. You just need to be the man who recognizes the shift in the environment and has the grounded confidence to act on it without hesitating. If this is the first time someone has actually broken down the invisible side of attraction for you, then you're already miles ahead of the competition. But understanding the signs is only half the battle. Knowing how to maintain that frame when the pressure is on is where the real work begins. If you're tired of second guessing yourself and you're ready to start seeing the world for what it actually is, do me a simple favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We're diving deep into the psychology that most men will never understand, giving you the clarity you need to stop guessing and start leading. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these signs you've been seeing lately but didn't know how to read. I'll see you in the next.